I found out my husband tried to steal my house with his mother just 3 weeks after our wedding, and the worst part is that I had already signed the papers without realizing what they really were. Before I tell you how I uncovered everything, tell me where you're watching from today, and if you've ever dealt with a manipulative in-law, you are going to understand this story on a very personal level. My name is Martha, and this is the story of how the two people I trusted most nearly took everything from me. Now, looking back, I realize the signs were always there, but I need to take you back to the beginning because nothing about this started the way it ended. I'm an architect, and I've always been extremely detail-oriented, which is probably why this betrayal hurts even more in hindsight. I spent 8 years saving every extra dollar I had to buy my dream home on Elmwood Drive, a beautiful 2-story house with a wide front porch, tall windows, and a yard I designed myself. The first time I walked through that house, I remember standing in the empty living room and thinking this is where my real life begins. I met Ryan 6 months after moving in. He was a software engineer, calm, intelligent, soft-spoken, and the kind of man who made everything feel easy and safe. We dated for 2 years, and when he proposed on that very porch at sunset, I said yes before he even finished asking me. That was my first mistake, because Ryan didn't come alone, he came with his mother Vivian. The first time I met Vivian was at our engagement dinner, where she brought roses even though I had told Ryan I preferred wildflowers. At first, I thought it was a simple mistake, but now I understand it was the beginning of something much more deliberate. Vivian had a way of smiling that never fully reached her eyes, and every compliment she gave me felt like it had a hidden meaning. She looked at my house and called it a nice little starter home, and I remember Ryan gently squeezing my hand under the table. At the time, I thought it was reassurance, but now I realize it was guilt. Our wedding was small and beautiful, with about 50 guests in a garden lit by soft string lights. But even there, something felt off, because Vivian showed up wearing white, not cream or beige, but white, as if she belonged in the center of the day more than I did. I noticed it, others noticed it, but I ignored it because I didn't want to ruin my own wedding. During the ceremony, she cried more than anyone else, and I thought it was emotion, but now I wonder if it was something else entirely. The honeymoon was short, only a few days, and the moment we returned home, everything shifted. The next morning, I was drinking coffee by the kitchen window when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Vivian stepped out with 2 large suitcases, and before I could even process what was happening, Ryan came downstairs, kissed me on the cheek, and told me that his mother would be staying with us for a little while until her situation was sorted out. I asked how long a little while meant, but he avoided the answer. Within days, Vivian had taken over my home completely. She moved into the guest room I had planned as my office, rearranged furniture without asking, criticized my cooking, and filled the entire house with her heavy perfume until it felt like I couldn't breathe properly in my own space. Then the questions started, questions about my mortgage, my property taxes, and whether I had ever considered refinancing. At first, I tried to tell myself she was just trying to bond with me, but deep down I felt something was wrong. The turning point came one afternoon when I came home early from work and found the house completely silent. I walked into my study and saw Vivian sitting at my desk with my filing cabinet open, going through my personal documents. When she saw me, she didn't look guilty, she looked annoyed, and when I asked what she was doing, she calmly said she was just looking for a pen. After she left the room, I noticed a blank yellow sticky note placed directly on top of my property deed, and I cannot explain why, but that moment sent a chill through me that I will never forget. That night, I started writing everything down, every comment, every question, every strange interaction, because something inside me told me I would need proof one day. A few days later, Ryan came home with a stack of bank documents and told me they were routine updates for married couples, just financial paperwork we needed to sign. I was tired, I trusted him, and I signed where he told me to sign. That decision changed everything. 3 weeks later, while organizing my study, I found a manila envelope hidden in the back of a drawer. Inside it was a quitclaim deed transferring ownership of my house to Vivian Thompson, dated 6 weeks before my wedding, and what shocked me most was the signature, which looked like mine at first glance but clearly wasn't, because it was Ryan's handwriting. I sat on the floor for several minutes unable to move as the reality of what I was seeing finally sank in. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a mistake, it was a planned attempt to take my home from me. I photographed every page, put everything back exactly as I found it, and called my father. My father, who is a retired corporate lawyer, listened in silence before telling me not to confront anyone that night and to come to him first thing in the morning. The next day, he took me to a real estate attorney named Lisa Chen, and that is when everything became even worse than I expected. Lisa explained that while the quitclaim deed itself was fraudulent without my signature, it proved intent and an ongoing plan. Even worse, the documents Ryan had previously asked me to sign were not routine bank forms at all, but a limited power of attorney that gave him control over my financial and property decisions. When I heard that, I felt physically sick. I went to the bank with my father, and the branch manager confirmed that I had unknowingly given Ryan legal authority over parts of my accounts and property-related decisions. I had essentially been trapped without realizing it. That night, I made a decision. I returned home, acted completely normal, and waited. The next morning before they woke up, I changed every lock in the house. When Vivian tried her key later that day and it didn't work, I calmly told her I had replaced the locks because the old ones were not secure anymore. That was the first time I saw fear in her eyes. That evening, I invited a family law paralegal to the house to act as a witness, and then I sat Ryan and Vivian down at the kitchen table. I placed printed copies of the forged deed in front of them and asked them to explain what I had found. What followed was an hour of denial, manipulation, excuses, and emotional deflection. Vivian called it a family protection measure, claimed I was overreacting, and tried every tactic she could to shift blame. Ryan said almost nothing. He just sat there because he knew the truth had caught up to him. Finally, I told them both to leave my house that night. The fallout came quickly. My father helped me file formal fraud complaints, and an investigation was opened by the county. Ryan eventually moved out, and later admitted that his mother had been planning this long before our wedding, and that he had gone along with it thinking it would never actually happen. In the end, Vivian was found guilty of fraudulent document preparation and faced serious legal consequences. My marriage didn't survive, but I did. And months later, standing on my porch with my coffee in my hands, I finally understood something important. The same porch where I once said yes to my future had become the place where I took my life back. Some people don't enter your life to love you. They enter to take from you. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is refuse to let them.